Hi, I'm Brian Russell. I want to welcome you to Introduction to the Old Testament, OT520, that meets on the Memphis campus. I will be there with you in Memphis twice. I'll be there Friday, April 12th and Saturday, April 13th. So make sure you have your calendars marked with those days, beginning at 6:30 p.m. on Friday through 5 p.m. the next Saturday. Then I'll be back on campus again May 3rd, 6:30 until 5 p.m. on May 4th. I think this is my fourth time teaching in Memphis, so I'm really excited about coming back. Now, it's also, I consider it a real privilege to be able to serve as your instructor. I look forward to working with each one of you and helping you to successfully navigate this course. Now, as you know, your classes are 7-week classes, which puts a lot of pressure. It gives you the opportunity to focus on a class intensely. But you also know the importance of not falling behind. So do carefully look at the syllabus and see how I've broken up the reading schedule there so that we're going to read in chunks. And you do have a good bit of reading to do before I come the very first evening on April the 12th. So make sure you take a look at the textbooks. Let me go over the books with you quickly here. Again, we have readings out of the Bible. Again, this is a class of introducing Scripture, so we're not going to neglect actually reading the Scripture itself. We're going to be reading key portions of the Old Testament. I encourage you, for your own benefit, just to read as much of the Old Testament as you can while we're in the class, but at minimum, you need to read the chapters that I have listed. Then we have a number of texts that we're going to use. We're going to use an atlas to get a big overview of this, and the key to reading this is lots of maps and stuff, and is to skim through it and get a sense of the history that's covered in the Old Testament as well as the geography. I'll be saying a few things, obviously, about both of those aspects, but this is going to be a primary text to get a sense of geography, the location of key places, and the timeline and the events of the Old Testament. There's a map quiz that we'll take in class, so take a look at your syllabus for that. Also have samples of the map quiz available for you inside the course, so you'll be prepared to do really well on that. Okay, the next textbook that we have in our main introductory text is by Dr. Bill T. Arnold, who teaches on the Wilmore campus. This is a rather recent introduction to the Old Testament, and you'll enjoy reading his book. It's very well written and very informative. So this is kind of our main textbook that will go over all the different books in the Old Testament, give you a sense of their history, when they were written, and some of the key themes, as well as deal with general background information. Then we have 3 shorter books that we're going to read through. John Oswald, who also teaches on the Wilmore campus and was one of my mentors, has a fine book called The Bible Among the Myths. And one of the issues that we deal with in the class is what's unique about Scripture in comparison to the other literature of its time. And Dr. Oswald will talk about that. So you'll find this book particularly helpful. Brent Strawn, The Old Testament is Dying. One of the problems that we face in the modern church is what is the role of the Old Testament in it? The Old Testament has some difficult texts, also talks about places that are that happen in events that happened such a long time ago, and obviously in a completely different cultural context. So why is the Old Testament still essential as Christian Scripture? This book will talk about that, and we'll also supplement that with some lecture material. This is a brand new text that just came out, and I'm quite excited that we can read this together this semester. And the last text is my own book, Realigning with God, Reading Scripture for Church and World. And what this text attempts to do is to give you a missional understanding of the Bible as a whole, and in particular, and the bulk of this is how do you read the Old Testament missionally in a way that illuminates the entire Bible and shows that the Old Testament is essential Christian Scripture. So those are the texts. Again, this semester is going to go really fast. So some of the key things you're going to have to do is we're going to do a map quiz in class. We're going to write an essay in class on really essentially the authority and the use of the Old Testament in your ministry, in which you'll draw off of data from the books and from our lectures. going to write a research paper on a topic of your choice. I would encourage you to look at the research topics and to watch the video on what's expected in the research paper, because you're going to want to get going on that fairly quickly, because 7 weeks goes really fast. And as soon as you think you have a topic, begin dialoguing with me. And there will also be a final exam that we'll take during exam week that'll be available to you online. I'm also going to have at least one Zoom session at some point to make sure that you're ready for the final exam and that you don't have any questions. What that'll let us do is regather online. If you can't make it to the time that we select, I'm going to try to get the time that the most of the class can attend. But if you can't, you can send me questions. I'm going to record it so you'll be able to watch a video of it. But we're going to do that in addition to our class meeting, just as a way to give you some bonus material. I'm available online, emails. I can have private conferences. I will say this, I do look at email every day during the semester except for Sundays. I try to take Sunday and bracket that off as a technology-free day, simply to allow my mind to rest for one day. I'd encourage you all to do that as well. We're going to have a fantastic semester. Again, I look forward to serving you and meeting you all later in April. I'm hoping you see this video early in the semester, simply so that you have a sense of what's coming. Again, the first assignments aren't due until the beginning of April, but if you want to get a head start, I would encourage you to do that. Again, I'm Brian Russell. It's going to be my privilege to be your professor this time, and I look forward to seeing you.